so many different things that go into making a successful partnership. So it's really comes down to a lot of factors and authenticity. That's really the first thing is the authenticity.
Welcome to Celebrity Focus Insiders with your host, Rick Backrack.
Steve Young, Bo Jackson, Nick Mangold, Sauce Gardner, and Jaylen Waddle. What do these young sports stars all have in common? Well, Russ Spielman, their sports marketing agent and a partner at GSE Worldwide. Russ got started in his career more than 30 years ago and has been with SFX Sports Group, ISI, the Legacy Agency, and the Agency. He's done hundreds of deals connecting famous people with famous brands. Also a member of the board of directors of the Little St. Nick Foundation. Russ, what's the foundation of a great relationship between talent and brands? Let's start right there.
I appreciate it. I think it really, thanks for having me on, Rick. Look, I think it all starts with finding the right type of fit, the right partnership, that not everything does make sense. So it has to be something that the client and the talent is willing to promote and support. The way the business has changed so much, it's not just show up at a commercial and shoot a commercial, and then I'll see you next year for the next round of commercials. There's a tremendous amount of collaboration. And that's where, they want social media posts, they want opportunistic interviews and things like that. So I've had a number of brands say to me, and this is not just trying to toot my own horn, but I've had a number of brands and agency people who say that we really consider who the representation is part of the decision process, because we understand there's so much nuance, there's so much timing, and so many different things that go into making a successful partnership. So it's really comes down to a lot of factors and authenticity. That's really the first thing is the authenticity. We give a lot of new clients, we give them a marketing questionnaire and we sit and talk to them and learn a little bit. What can we learn? What are your hobbies, interests, family, medical background, passions, and long-term goals and objectives, so we can learn about them to find these authentic, credible partnerships.
When you're looking at the brands, Russ, and targeting out brands to match with your clients, what are you looking for? As a marketer, what are you looking for on the brand side of things?
I think it's just similar approach. There's really a variety of things. You can't just have one blanket statement. What are you looking for? Because it depends on who the personality is, where they are in their career, and what the company is and what the company's objectives are. So, for example, if you're with a young player who's just looking to get their name out there, you might want someone that's going to do a lot of advertising dollars behind it. But if you're dealing with someone that's more in the twilight of their career, you're looking, what are the potential long-term opportunities, the post-career opportunities? Is there something that they could do together when the player's playing days are done? It also matters what the player's specific objectives are. Is this going to help me to my long-term plans and goals and objectives? And that comes from us sitting down with our clients and talking and learning what is it that they want to accomplish. It's not for us to dictate to them what they should accomplish, but it's how can we help support those objectives. So the partners that you're looking for, we try and match up to what our athletic clients, what their objectives are. Does that make sense, Rick?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Mhm.
Do you think, Russ, that all talent is created equal,
Oh,
or are
definitely.
some guys wired differently? And again, that plays into your approach as a marketer of the personalities. Talk a little bit about that.
We always say marketing is an art. It's not a science. There's not, someone's marketable by just looking at them, studying them, understanding them. But what makes someone marketable, it's a variety of factors. I used to say all the time, the best way to have a household name is to not have a household name. I've worked with a lot of players with a variety of, they're not Johns and Bobs, and they have names that are recognizable. A wonderful nickname is always something good to utilize. Nothing transcends like winning. Winning is first and foremost. But we don't get caught up in the whole that's a good market, that's a bad market. It's up to the player, it's up to their personality. Nowadays, obviously, their social media presence and the things they're capable of doing, and then what makes them special and unique, and their willingness. Because a lot of times now you have to go the extra mile. You have to do that, as I said, the extra social media post. You have to shake someone's hand on the sideline. There's a variety of things that go into making someone marketable, but it's just how can you separate yourself from the competition? And it could be any of those things. Like I said, your on-field play, your name, your look, your personality, your background. We have multinational players who just families are very diverse that appeals to certain corporations. We have people, like I said, the nickname thing, play a unique position, have a unique style. Some of our clients on other sides of the business have a very unique golf swing that just gets them very well recognized. Nicknames go very far, and then winning.
Well, we're going to come back to the nickname thing in a little bit, but let me ask you this. You've made a major success with Nick Mangold, who a
Yeah.
great guy, but let's face it, he's an offensive lineman. So how do you take that and parlay that into a terrific endorsement career?
Yeah, Nick might have had a little to do with that, but
Okay.
look, he's. I mean, it did start. Unfortunately, as a New Yorker, the winning part only came very briefly. But one aspect that I didn't touch on is a unique look. He had the beard. I've had a lot of success with guys that just have giant beards. He had the beard, the hair. He just really represented what the consummate Jet fan would look like and what people wanted to hang out with and identify with. He happens to have a wonderful personality. He's very, very funny. He's very comfortable in his own skin. He's not afraid to make fun of himself. Doesn't take himself too seriously. I think that playing in New York and being close to New York really benefited him well too. And then staying in this market post career has just been another great thing too. Some guys they'll have a wonderful career, then they go back to their hometown and they're never seen or heard from again. Nick's been smart enough to stick around here, and that's definitely helped a lot too. And then we found certain lanes for Nick specifically to operate in, things that he enjoyed, and it's back to everything I was saying about working with them. Cooking, drinking, and things like that are things that really he identified with, and we just tried to keep his brand and what he became synonymous with kind of tight. And it's not really manufactured. It's got to be authentic. Back to that word again.
Russ, we've got a lot more to talk about. We're going to take a short break and then we'll get right back into it with Russ Spielman. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back, Russ. Let's talk about Sauce Gardner. I mean,
Yeah.
could you have had a more ready-made opportunity? But I'm sure there's a lot more to that story, and I know you've got some big developments with Sauce. Tell us about that.
Sauce has been great, and he's a phenomenal talent. He actually, I don't know if people realize, he happened to have the most social media followers of any rookie in this draft class too, which certainly helped a lot. And then back to the nickname, it's a phenomenal, unique nickname, and obviously we all were thinking, how do we leverage the Sauce thing? And now bringing things full circle with Nick Mangold. Nick Mangold and I launched a line of barbecue sauce. I can't see it here, but we launched a line of barbecue sauce. And I took a lot of those key learnings. And then when people were coming to me, when we started and his team around him and started working with Sauce, they were like, hey, we're going to start a line of barbecue sauce. And I'm like, wait a second, I've been down that road. You can't, I'm not doing that twice. So I knew launching our own barbecue sauce was not the initial intention. And this one is something that we thought of, we worked with. He actually grew up going to Buffalo Wild Wings throughout his whole childhood and college career. So it really made it, I hate to keep saying it, authentic. And then, look back to what I said earlier about a rookie. I mean, you'd like someone that's going to help have some marketing dollars behind it to promote and support and grow the partnership. And so far, it's been phenomenal. It's been a lot of fun. They're another one that doesn't take themselves too seriously. They like to have fun, and hopefully, this is going to be the kind of partnership that we could have for the duration of his career.
Was that a pre-existing relationship with you, or did you cultivate that cold like that once you signed Sauce?
It was working in conjunction with his brother, a business manager, and people that we've known, but it was really just all of us collaborating together and pulling on who we knew. And we sat down, and one of the first conversations obviously was, let's analyze the sauce landscape. There's a lot of different, when you really dig into it, it's barbecue, it's teriyaki, it's hot sauce. There's a lot of ways you can go with it. So we were fortunate to pull this one off right from the onset. And look, we're not trying to overwhelm a rookie and not overwhelm the market, because we all are very bullish on him and his on-field, upside. So we're like, let's do one or two things. Let's let him perform on the field, and then we could do bigger and better partnerships. And I think maintaining the value. You can't just do sauce this, sauce that, sauce, because then suddenly it dilutes everything. And as we know from a good barbecue sauce, you don't want to dilute it, right?
No, no question about it. Boy, are you on message,
Yeah. Yeah.
Russ? I love this. So, we've known each other for many, many, many years. Um, you've done thousands, I would say, thousands of deals, as have I. We all have our favorites. Can you share a couple of your favorite deals throughout your career,
Yeah.
including maybe, you've represented a lot of different people. Um, who stood out and what deals stood out for you?
The question I usually get is like, what's the weirdest one that you've done? I remember when we represented Bobby Hurley at the time, and we did it. He had a horse in the Derby, and we ended up putting together some partnerships for his horse. And that was before people were doing, horse deals for right before the Derby and the breeders. That was always a fun one. EDS was the company there. I mean, there's been so many. I did something. I remember I was in a couple commercials. I was in one with we did a Bo Jackson right there. We taped in Chicago by you with Force Factor, and they needed a stand-in. And suddenly I got the call, "Hey, Mellon, we need you." And I came down off the bench, and they needed someone to like pretend they were working out in the gym. So next thing you know, I'm stripping on set and I'm throwing on a tank top and I'm on the bench in the background lifting weights. That was a really fun one. I mean, and obviously, there's been so many fun ones with Nick. Whether it was what we did, he's been doing cooking competitions all over. The Bud Light Seltzer was a really fun commercial, and just all the stories that I've been fortunate enough, the rooms I've been fortunate enough to sit in the Nissan Heisman House, all the AT&T and Samsung commercials where they have like 5, 8, 10 Hall of Famers in one room at a time, and I am just sitting there hearing stories. I'm watching Hall of Famers fanboy over Bo Jackson. And I'm a fan too, but like they're asking all the questions that I want to ask, but I'm afraid to ask. But suddenly it's Barry Sanders and Emmett Smith asking Bo Jackson questions that I'm interested in. So it's stuff like that that's been really, really cool and fortunate for me throughout my career.
And we won't get into any of the disasters today. We'll save that for another episode. I do want to ask you about this. GSE and you have gotten very active in the NIL landscape
Mhm.
and doing NIL deals. Talk a little bit about how that maybe has changed the endorsement landscape, and how do you see that evolving?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed the landscape forever. Right now, short term, we're still viewing it all as very positive, right? It's giving us an opportunity to develop a business relationship with athletes that we might not have had the opportunity to develop a relationship with. I've said this that look, we probably currently have more Alabama players on our roster that I might have represented cumulatively in my entire career. So that's a big testament. The fact that we can work with these kind of great players at such a young age and really help develop and form their brand, work with them and form their brand and give them opportunity to make a living while they're in college, while they're in school, and help support their families. I've always sort of wondered how some families were able to travel and get to see their games, their children's games, and now they're able to do that. The families are, the children playing in college are supporting the family. It's kind of crazy, but I think, look, there's a lot of stuff happening. It's happening so quickly. It's hard to sum it up in a quick pithy comment with you here right now, but like the platforms, there's hundreds and hundreds of platforms, which I think are buying platforms, selling platforms, which I think are really great for the masses. But like, we're more interested in representing elite number of players, a limited number of players. So I don't know if all those platforms are really the right thing for all of our players. So I believe that representation is always going to be important. And that's why we're trying to represent the elite players looking for corporate partnerships for them. So I think that there's just so much happening so quickly. The first year of NIL, it was almost musical chairs, and we were just grabbing anything we could, talking in when we could. And if you called us and you looked decent, seemed like a decent player, a decent person, then we were interested in representing them. And then suddenly we took some learnings after the first year, and we're like, wait, let's slow down here. We don't need everybody. Not everybody's marketable. Not everybody's a future pro. Let's take more of our professional approach to the collegiate level. And that's what we're really trying to do. And we're very blunt with players that, look, we're looking to do this long term with you. So this is not a money grab. We might say no to some things, and you might say, hey, I could use the money, but we're going to explain to you why this might be hurting you long term. So we're trying to take a long term approach, even though it still is a very short term opportunity for a lot of players.
Russ, one last question for you, and I really appreciate you sticking around. GSE has several clients who've joined the LIV tour. Bryson DeChambeau, Abraham Answer, Paul Casey, among others. What effect has that had on their marketing? Where do you see that going in the future?
Well, just sticking to a lot of people lost a lot of partnerships, and I think everybody obviously knew that was going to happen, and that they were very prepared for those types of decisions. The long-term opportunity for Live, if they are able to fulfill all their hopes, goals, promises, assurances, I think that the sales opportunity could even be greater, because now you have people like a Bryson DeChambeau who actually has his own franchise. There's going to be franchises within Live. There's teams, but there's going to be like an F1 NASCAR approach where instead of selling one hat logo on one golfer, suddenly we're going to be selling for 4 at a time. We're going to help work on their entire team. So there's a lot of long-term ownership where they're building value, enterprise value in the actual franchise itself. But I think that the sales process, if you could sell the same thing 4 times versus 1 time, there's a lot more money there for everybody to go around. So I think if they're able to pull off everything, the TV, the world golf ranking points, I think that this thing really has an opportunity to succeed. Near term, they obviously lost some partnerships. That's been well documented and expected. So, that's a whole other conversation, Rick, where we could talk about the hypocrisy of some companies that are saying, I can't support that, while they are supporting it in 10 other ways, but that's a whole other conversation.
Absolutely. And I want to do that again in another episode. Russ, you've been great. Thank you so much for being with me today. Hey, to our viewers, if you've enjoyed this podcast, come back and do it again. Click on that subscribe button. I don't know where it is, but it's there somewhere. Go to celebrityfocus.com, sign up for our newsletter, and I hope you'll follow us. Take care, and Russ, we'll see you soon.
Thanks for including me, Rick.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Celebrity Focus Insiders, connecting famous people with famous brands. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date and check out our past episodes at celebrityfocus.com.